Vedic mantras and chant them, and you see, one will get a huge amount of strength if one just reads scriptures loudly. So by reading loudly, and even if it feels painful to read, even if it feels boring to feel, read the scriptures. One should read. Why? Because that is an austerity of intelligence, austerity of mind. So, and the speech gets purified by reading it loudly. Story of Chandan forest that made into koila. Human body is Chandan. Sense gratification is koila. Thank you, Kaushik Prabhu, for remembering this. Why lust is bad? It covers our intelligence. Lust cannot be satisfied. While enjoying lust, there may be happiness, but that same happiness is an enemy of enjoyer. Thank you. Very nice point. This was Sanket Pro. Only few devotees are repeating, I guess. Other devotees, you can also unmute and speak, was right. Uh, Rojgar, Karagar, Agar. Thank you, Kaushik Prabhu. My, and the material world is like Maithun Agar. Okay. Thank you so much. Any other points? Lord has given the place where the terrorists are situated in the Jiva. Okay, Lord has given the place where terrorists. Oh, okay. Terrorists of this anarthas have conquered the places. Okay. Okay. Any other discussions? Collection from yesterday's class?
Prabhuji, we discussed three places where lust is present: mind, senses, and intelligence. And then we also discussed that it is easy to control the senses, gross senses, rather than mind and intelligence. So we should begin, means we should not stop the senses, but engage the senses in spiritual activities. In this way, we can control.
Yeah. So we should take easy task first. We should not take difficult, somewhat difficult task first. Generally, easy task first is okay. This is like a let's control. Let's start controlling by controlling the senses first on the gross level, and the senses can be controlled by regulation. So regulation, yeah. Lust plays a significant role in getting another body. Yeah, this is one of the most important factor why we get different bodies. You just can you imagine? So many bodies are created by Lord. Golden fish, silver fish, jellyfish, that fish, बाद में Pommy dog, Pomelian dog, and then the German dog, and hundreds of bodies are created. Why so many bodies are created? Because living entity has so many desires. So many desires are there. Like, can you say like why hundreds of varieties of toothpaste are available in market? Can you give any reason? Anyone knows why hundreds of toothpaste? कोलगेट प्लस प्लस कोलगेट माइनस माइनस आपके कोलगेट में नमक है आपका कोलगेट नीला दिखता है आपका कोलगेट पीला दिखता है क्या why so many toothpaste are there Abhinandan too?
Everyone has different taste, Guruji.
हाँ
So unlike that.
किसी को टूथपेस्ट में नमक चाहिए किसी को टूथपेस्ट में तीखा चाहिए किसी को टूथपेस्ट के अंदर मीठा चाहिए किसी को अलग चाहिए किसी को नीले कलर का टूथपेस्ट चाहिए किसी को पीले कलर का टूथपेस्ट चाहिए तो सोचो इतने अलग प्रकार के डिजायर्स है तो इतने सारे बनाने पड़ते हैं सिमिलरली डिफरेंट डिमांड्स तो सोचो भगवान का थैंकलेस टास्क कितना बना के बैठे हैं ना नए नए लिविंग एंटिटीज बना के बैठे हैं इतना वैरायटी दिया है 84 लाख स्पीसीज में घूमने का अपॉर्चुनिटी दिया है because the lust means desires, material desires. So just to facilitate these desires भगवान ने कितना बड़ा अरेंजमेंट मार के रखा है और उसमें भी ऐसा नहीं कि 84 लाख को लिमिट मार दिया है 84 लाख के अंदर भी परम्यूटेशन कॉम्बिनेशन मार के मोड्स का इधर उधर करके थोड़ा बहुत 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 वैरायटी दी है भगवान ने सो वैरायटी इज द मदर ऑफ एंजॉयमेंट थैंक यू अभिजीत प्रभु so 3D formula Meghraj Pro is writing 3D formula to control. Okay. The first Darshan Bhai is writing the first step for conquering lust is regulating the senses. Okay. Karthik Bhai is writing material world is jail and the shackles are sex life. Perfect. So we find yes,
Prabhuji,
bro.
Prabhuji, you say that Vishnu Chaitanya Thakur has written in that particular purport in the increasing order of means it is difficult to control senses, mind, intelligence in the increasing order. Means it is difficult to control intelligence more than the mind also. Guruji, how
Yeah.
can we understand this? Because we see that it is very difficult to control the mind.
No,
So it
no.
is said.
It is
Uh,
said mind is like a mind is like a small child. And when the small child cries, sometimes parents also become helpless. But if parents are strong enough, and if parents they provide a good training to the children, then they can control. But sometimes the mind is too naughty, too naughty. It makes such a hellish sin that even parents sometimes they have to really become. But why this happens? Because the parents are not given proper samskaras from the very beginning. When the parents are not given proper control, they are not controlled and kept under control, then the child becomes whimsical, and then it even drags down parents. It even drags, like Duryodhana. Duryodhana even dragged down Dhritarashtra and everyone down to their level. But if somebody would have an intelligent father parent, no, you would have disciplined the mind. So intelligence is higher, mind is below, and below that is children, that are senses. So this is in the next shloka exactly what you are asking. The next theme, what you are asking is exactly the next shloka today what we are going to read. That is, acha, sound is low, Prabhu. Is my sound very low?
अभी हो गया गुरु, पहले ठीक ठाक।
Yes, Prabhu means okay, sound लो आ
प्रभु
रहा है
जी,
क्या?
हाँ अभी आ रहा है प्रभु जी।
एक सेकेंड।
हाँ हाँ अभी आ रहा है प्रभु जी।
अभी बेटर है क्या? हरे कृष्णा। अभी बेटर है कि पहले वाला बेटर था?
यस, ये वाला बेटर।
ओके, चलेगा। So, okay, so we'll continue ahead now. We are now going towards the next chapter. So yesterday we discussed like how many of you have done the experiment of आपके घर पे पुराने बचपन में चूहा घुस गया होगा। चूहा चूहा अगर जब घुस जाता है, अभी तो ठीक है मॉडर्न टेक्नोलॉजी आ गया है, पिंजरा लगाते हैं, लेकिन पिंजरा लगाए बिना आप में से कितने लोगों ने चूहे को बाहर निकाला है? घर के बाहर हाथ ऊपर कीजिए। चूहा निकाला है, मतलब आपने चूहे को घर में घुस जाता है। तो मुझे याद है कि जब घर पे चूहा घुसता था तो बहुत बड़ा हमारे यहाँ पे बैटिंग होता था, क्रिकेट मैच होता था। मेरी मम्मी, पापा, भाई, बहन, बाद में सब मैं, तो सब फील्डिंग फील्डिंग लेके बैठते थे। ए तू इस रूम में जाना, इधर से आने को नहीं देने का, ए झाड़ू लेने का, इधर से झाड़ू लेने का, इधर से बाहर निकला खाड़ करके शॉट मारने का, इधर से आया कपड़ा डालने का उसके ऊपर। तो पूरा ऐसा एरिया सेटिंग होता था, एकदम चूहा बाहर आता था। आई डोंट नो आप में से आपने किसने किया है ये सब, लेकिन बहुत मजा आता था एकदम चूहा निकालने में। फिर रोहा मस्त था, इधर इधर भाग गया, अरे उधर भाग गया, अरे इधर भाग गया। और एक्चुअल में उसके पास तीन चार ही जगह होती थी जहां वो भागता था, मतलब इधर से उधर, उधर से इधर। और चूहा निकालने में बहुत बहुत मेहनत जाता था। तो वैसे ही कई बार हमें लगता है, "अरे यार, तो मैं इतना चैंटिंग कर रहा हूँ, यार अभी भी लस्ट गया नहीं। अरे यार, मैं इतना रीडिंग किया हूँ, अभी भी लस्ट गया नहीं। अरे मैं इतना ये कर हूँ, कुछ प्रसाद खाया, चरणामृत पिया, धाम दर्शन गया, इधर गया उधर गया, कुछ होता ही नहीं।" क्योंकि जनरली चूहा जो क्या करता है, चूहा वो तीन चार जगहों पे भागते रहता है। और हमें अगर पता ही नहीं चूहा कहाँ छुपा है, तो बहुत मेहनत जाता है, बहुत मेहनत जाता है। तो एटलीस्ट पता है चूहा कहाँ पे होगा, तो बहुत इजी हो जाता है मैच उसको निकालने के लिए। सिमिलरली कृष्णा ने मर्सीफुली हमको बता दिया है, कृष्णा ने मर्सीफुली बता दिया है कि चूहा कहाँ छुपा है। चूहा छुपता है तीन जगहों पर। कौन कौन सी तीन जगहों पर चूहा छुपता है? तीन जगह, वो तीन जगह है माइंड, इंटेलिजेंस और सेंसेस। ये तीन जगह पर ये चूहा जो है वो छुप जाता है हमारा। तो हमारे लिए बहुत इजी टास्क हो जाता है उसको निकालने के लिए। अभी जैसे कल हम 3D फॉर्मूला के बारे में डिस्कस कर रहे थे, तो अगला जो चैप्टर आने वाला है, ये चैप्टर कृष्णा मर्सीफुली बताने वाले हैं कि देखो भाई, मैंने आपको अभी तक बताया, ये लस्ट जो है बहुत बड़ा बॉन्डेज है। ये लस्ट ही जो कारण है हमको बार बार नए नए मटेरियल बॉडीज, एंड अगेन अगेन वी आर गेटिंग अनदर रिपीटेड डिफरेंट डिफरेंट बॉडीज। So now Arjuna may feel okay, but now can you give some, the mind, as our Kaushik was telling, the mind is very weak and intelligence is the most difficult to control. So how to deal with the intelligence? So he says intelligence can be purified by knowledge. And this knowledge is not just the material knowledge. This knowledge is called as spiritual knowledge. So intelligence is like a fire, the knowledge is like a fire, And when the fire comes, and the knowledge is like a light, and as soon as light comes, the darkness goes away. Similarly, we have to enlighten ourselves with the transcendental knowledge. And in the matter of transcendental knowledge, the way of getting knowledge, that's why Shastras are called as Shruti. Shruti means it can be learned by hearing only. Although it may feel very boring and sometimes very frustrating to hear, but knowledge is received through ears. So ears play the most important part among all the sense organs. Ears play very, very vital part in our spiritual life. That's why we should protect our ears. So it is said scriptural knowledge is known as Shruti, that which is to be heard and understood. So in the earlier ages, people used to get this knowledge just by hearing from one person and they used to remember it. But later we know that this knowledge people could not remember any longer. And that's why Vyasadeva had to write so many different scriptures, Mahabharata, Puranas, Itihas in the written format. So it is said so the next chapter, the fourth chapter of Bhagavad Gita, has an acronym called as years. So whenever fourth chapter, if you want to remember, okay, what was the acronym for the third chapter? Who remembers? Quickly tell. Third chapter acronym was which one? Tree.
Tree.
T for tag. R for
Rungs of
ladder.
rungs of yoga ladder.
of yoga ladder. E for
Example.
example. And last E for enemy of
Enemy.
this. So basically, in this chapter, in the last entire third chapter, there was mainly discussion about this four subject matters only. That is tree. So third chapter, entire third chapter, please remember the tree. So this analogy we remember. So T for Arjuna got a confusion whether tyag is better or work is better, right? So which one is better? And Krishna explains tyag, work, and all those things are nicely explained there. Then R, Krishna starts explaining to him rungs of yoga ladder among karma yoga, dhyan yoga, nishkam karma yoga, everything he gives a brief preview. E, he said, okay, Arjun, even if you are qualified for Jnana Yoga, still you should not give up work. Why? Because you have to set an example. Because what your leader does, common people follow. So be exemplary. At least do your duties. Even I do my duties properly. If I don't do, then the world will get into ruination. And even after Arjuna then feels, even after I know so much, I am forced to commit something, I am forced to do something wrong, which I don't want to do. So then why it is? It is said that is enemy of the soul. Enemy of the soul means the lust is the most powerful and the biggest powerful enemy of the soul. So this was the discussion. Now, as we are entering into the fourth chapter of Bhagavad Gita, we know like one simple acronym which we can use to remember the entire fourth chapter is years. So Arjuna, Krishna spoke so much discussion about lust. Now, what is the way to overcome this bondage of lust? So the solution given is transcendental knowledge. And EARS. So it is said ears are our best friend. Ears are the best friend. So those people whose ears are awake, or those people whose ears are listening, attentive, they said they can overcome. So E for what? E for eternal education. So there is a need of an education. Without this education, lust cannot be overcome. And then only education, it is not that just theoretical knowledge we do. There is a need of accurate understanding also. So accurate understanding is required along with the knowledge. And what will be the benefit of this knowledge? If one gets this knowledge properly, he will be able to remove all reactions and actions. He will be able to all karmic reactions, removes all karmic reactions. Educate the knowledge has that much power. And S stands for the knowledge is not just understood by theory. it is understood by sacrifice and service. Sacrifice and service. So he said these 4 points by which you can remember the entire 4 chapter. So four topics in 4 chapter. 4 topics in the 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. E for eternal education, A for accurate understanding, R for removing karmic reactions, and S for service and sacrifice. So if you remember this, so whenever 4th chapter comes, just remember your ears, transcendental knowledge. Knowledge has to be attained by ears. Okay. So let's complete the last 2 shlokas from our this section of 3rd chapter, and then we'll come to 4th chapter. Hare Krishna. Okay, whose turn, Prabhu? Please read. Verse number 3.42. Indriyani parani ahur indriyebhya param mana manasastu para buddhir yo buddhe paratastu sa. So as our Kaushik was telling here, this is the sequence of how the process of dealing with lust or self-control has to be begun. So it is said the easy place to conquer is इंद्रियाणी. इंद्रियाणी एक ऐसा लोकेशन है जहां पर टेररिस्ट जो छुपा है वो जल्दी पकड़ा जा सकता है. ये लोकेशन से जल्दी मिल जाएगा इंद्रियाणी, क्योंकि ये दिख जाता है. दूसरा, इंद्रियेभ्य परम मन, इंद्रियों से भी परम जो है, ऊपर है, वो मन. ये लोकेशन थोड़ा डिफिकल्ट है डील करने के लिए. यहाँ पे जब एनिमी छुप जाता है तो इतना आसानी से बाहर निकालना उसको मुश्किल पड़ता है. जैसे मैंने बताया ना, आपको चूहा चूहा कुछ कुछ जगह से चूहा इजीली निकाल सकते हैं, लेकिन कुछ ऐसी जगह होती है जहां से चूहा फंस गया तो चूहा निकालना बहुत डिफिकल्ट हो जाता है. लेकिन उससे भी खतरनाक है मनसस्तु परा बुद्धि, मन के भी ऊपर है बुद्धि. और यो बुद्धि परस्तु, so he said that is intelligence. Yes, Prabhu. Please read.
Translation. The working senses are superior to dull matter. Mind is higher than the senses. Intelligence is still higher than the mind. And he, the soul, is even higher than the intelligence.
Purport.
Purport. The senses are different outlets for the activities of the lust. Lust is reserved within the body, but it is given vent through the senses. Therefore, the senses are superior to the body as a whole. These outlets are not in use when there is superior consciousness or Krishna consciousness. In Krishna consciousness, the soul makes direct connection with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, the hierarchy of bodily functions, as described here, ultimately ends in Supreme Soul. Bodily action means the function of the senses, and stopping the senses means stopping all bodily actions. But since the mind is active, then even though the body may be silent and at rest, the mind will act, as it does during dreaming. But above the mind is the determination of the intelligence, and above the intelligence is the soul proper. If therefore the soul is directly engaged with the Supreme, naturally all other subordinates, namely the intelligence, mind, and senses, will be automatically engaged. In the Katha Upanishad, there is similar passage in which it is said that the objects of sense gratification are superior to the senses, and mind is superior to the sense objects. If therefore the mind is directly engaged in the service of the Lord constantly, then there is no chance that the senses will become engaged in other way. This mental attitude has already been explained. Param drishtva nivartate. If the mind is engaged in the transcendental service of the Lord, there is no chance of its being engaged in the lower propensities. In the Katha Upanishad, the soul has been described as Mahan, the great. Therefore, the soul is above all, namely the sense objects, the senses, the mind, and the intelligence. Therefore, directly understanding the constitutional position of the soul is the solution of the whole problem. With intelligence, one has to seek out the constitutional position of the soul and then engage the mind always in Krishna consciousness. That solves the whole problem. A neophyte spiritualist is generally advised to keep aloof from the objects of the senses. But aside from that, one has to strengthen the mind by use of the senses, strengthen by the use of intelligence. If by intelligence one engages one's mind in Krishna consciousness, by complete surrender unto Supreme Personality of Godhead, then automatically the mind becomes stronger. And even though the senses are very strong, like serpents, they will no more effective than serpents with broken fangs. But even that, though the soul is the master of intelligence in the mind and the senses also, still, unless it is strengthened by the association with Krishna in Krishna consciousness, there is every chance of falling down due to agitated mind.
So this is a very, very vital purport. And if this purport is understood very nicely, it can actually help us to solve the entire problem of the biggest struggle which we are facing in our sadhaka life. That is about lust. So he said, what is this purport about? So let's categorize this purport into certain parts now. So we find senses. Senses are the different outlets for the activities of lust. So whenever we speak about lust, we should not only think that lust is only sex life or that. That is only one of the manifestation of lust. But lust has different outlets. Somebody wants to use his tongue for the lust because he wants to eat very, very fancy products. Somebody wants to use his eyes for the lust. Somebody wants to use his ears for the lust. And different outlets are there. So senses are considered to be the outlets from where the lust comes out in a ugly fashion or a good fashion. Now, where is lust stored? So it's said lust is reserved within the body and it is given through the senses. Now, Mr. Lust is reserved in which body? So yeah, it is in the subtle body. It is in the subtle body, but then it comes out in a gross form through different senses. When the lust comes through the tongue, it wants to taste palatable food products. When the lust comes out through eyes, it wants to see something. So when the lust comes through ego, intelligence, so we find that all these are now. What is the method? So यहाँ पे बताया गया है कि about mind is a determination of intelligence. Above the mind is a determination of intelligence. So if we listen to the mind, that means our intelligence has not yet become very, very strong. Intelligence is weak. Intelligence is weak, and that's why we are listening to the demands of mind. So now if mind has to be controlled, the intelligence को sharp बनाना पड़ेगा एकदम. And above the intelligence is the soul proper. So यहाँ पे प्रभुपाद ने लिखा है ये जो है ना कथा उपनिषद नहीं है प्रभु, इट इज कॉल्ड एज कथा उपनिषद. कठ नाम के जो मुनि है कठ उपनिषद, तो कठ मुनि का कठ उपनिषद. इट इज सेड objects of sense gratification are superior to senses. Why? Because generally senses would like to serve the objects of sense gratification, and is a mind is superior to sense objects. Yeah, ultimate purpose of sense object is what? To serve the mind. And mind is and intelligence is above the mind because the mind is supposed to serve the intelligence and act as per. So यहाँ पे लिखा है this param drishtva nivartate. If mind is engaged in the service of Lord, there is no chance of its being engaged in the lower propensities. Like from the time we have come to Krishna consciousness, we have got so many higher engagements in our life. And that's why we find like nowadays this IPL and people were so mad after watching IPL and World Cup and 2020. And I saw many devotees, I was feeling, earlier I also used to like this match, cricket match, very much. But now it is so boring. One ball is moving from here and there and 20 people are running after it and 1 million people are watching it and lakhs and thousands of people are gambling about it. What is so great about this cricket match? But now it may appear such a foolish thing to do the thing. So similar way, it is said, the soul is described as Mahan. The soul is above all. So now, what are the steps to be taken? So I said, first of all, use the intelligence. Make intelligence stronger. Intelligence is currently weak. So make intelligence stronger. And understand what is the position of soul and engage the mind in Krishna consciousness. And Prabhupada is writing that solves whole the problem. ये दो जगह जो है इस पे ध्यान दो, मन और बुद्धि, मन और बुद्धि पे ध्यान दो और सेंसेस को डिसिप्लिन लगाओ, मन और बुद्धि। तो बुद्धि को मजबूत करने के लिए शास्त्रों का पठन करना बहुत महत्वपूर्ण है, और मन को मजबूत करने के लिए ऑस्टेरिटीज, और जो ऑस्टेरिटीज है वो करना बहुत महत्वपूर्ण है, और सेंसेस को लगता है डिसिप्लिन, रेगुलेशन एंड डिसिप्लिन, स्केड्यूल लगता है। सो ही सेड दैट्स व्हाई इन द इनिशियल डेज if we find our mind is becoming too crazy and we are not able to control the senses, then better to keep away from sense objects. Out of sight is out of mind for many of them. Although this may not be right, but out of sight is out of mind for many of us. So when the objects of sense gratification are not present, it becomes little easy to control the mind. So he said, uh, and now once the soul is mind becomes purified or mind is engaged into Krishna conscious activity, slowly the senses will become like a serpent with the broken fang. Like Ajamila, although was committing the wrong activities, Ajamila was doing all sinful activities. But it is said because of his chanting of the holy names and because he was engaged in bhakti, although he was doing sense gratification, Krishna Chakri Thakur writes, it is his senses were like a serpent with a broken tooth. So although the serpent with a broken tooth may bite, but it will be like a kiss only. Like suppose serpent comes and kiss you, then how you feel? But and there is no poison into it, so you may feel like a kiss only. So similarly, when we start practicing bhakti, sometimes it happens that our activities do not stop. The senses still tend to commit wrong activities, but actually the mind is not willing that way. Intelligence is not willing that way. But because of previous samskaras, the senses are still continuing to do wrong activity. But it is said, it is like a serpent with a broken fang. Let it may bite for some time, but tolerate it. You will soon become purified. So this is a hope-giving verse which is given by Vishwanath Thakur. So, okay. Now 43rd verse. एवं बुद्धे परम बुद्ध्वा संस्थाप्यात्मान आत्मना जहि शत्रु महाबाहो काम रूपम दुराशदम. So it is said, thus understand buddhi is very important. That's why Krishna consciousness is sometimes also called as buddhi yoga, and only buddhiman people can understand it. Buddhi. So it is not, sometimes we say striya shudra vaishya, but even striya shudra vaishya, even if they take to Krishna consciousness, they are very buddhiman ji. So evam buddhe param buddhva samstabhya atmanam atmana. So he said by atmana, atma chintan, by deliberate intelligence, conquer this enemy of lust. By deliberate intelligence. So yes, bro, please read.
Thus, knowing oneself to be transcendental to the material senses, mind, and intelligence, O mighty Arjun, one should steady the mind by deliberate spiritual intelligence, Krishna consciousness, and thus, by spiritual strength, conquer this insatiable enemy known as lust.
Yeah, so this enemy is insatiable. It is never satisfied. No amount of lust can satisfy this lust only. So it is said by spiritual strength. And by spiritual strength comes by what? Spiritual strength comes by, so we have to deliberate spiritual intelligence. Deliberate means not intentionally done sadhana. No, sorry, not accidentally done sadhana. Sometimes we accidentally do our bhakti. चलो भैया आज थोड़ा बहुत बोर हो रहा था, चलो थोड़ा आज रीडिंग हियरिंग हो गया, बाय मिस्टेक हो गया। कोई तो मेरा काउंसलर लेके बैठ गया, या कोई तो मेरा डिवोटी मेंटर लेके बैठ गया और उन्होंने मेरा बुक रीडिंग करवा दिया, दैट इज गुड इनफ, गुड। बट नहीं, थोड़ा खुद से भी करना पड़ेगा ब्रो। सेल्फ स्टडी को कोई उपाय पर्याय नहीं है, सेल्फ स्टडी करना पड़ेगा। ऐसा नहीं कि चलो जब ऑर्गेनाइजेशन और अरेंज करता है रीडिंग हियरिंग तो हमारा हो जाता है, इतना तो करना ही चाहिए कम से कम। वॉइस में रह के जो ये वॉइस में ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में रह के जो साधना हमारी हो जाती है, ओके, अच्छी बात है, उतना भी किया तो बहुत बड़ा बात है। लेकिन इंटेलिजेंस ऑल्सो, खुद का थोड़ा इंटेंशनली प्लीज कृष्णा, नॉट incidentally please Krishna, not accidentally please Krishna. Some people accidentally please Krishna. Some people what we say, some people what we say incidentally please Krishna. Incident को चलो आज मेरा बर्थडे है चलो आज हो जाएगा. Incidentally. Accidentally मतलब by mistake. Incidentally मतलब some occasion. And intentionally means no, with proper thought and process. So let's please Krishna intentionally, not incidentally and not accidentally. Hmm? Okay, perfect. Please read through. This is the last verse.
This third chapter of the Bhagavad Gita is conclusively directed to Krishna consciousness by knowing oneself as the eternal servitor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Without considering impersonal voidness, the ultimate end, in the material existence of life, one is certainly influenced by propensities for lust and desire for dominating the resources of material nature. Desire for overloading and for sense gratification is the greatest enemy of the conditioned soul. But by the strength of Krishna consciousness, one can control the material senses, the mind, and the intelligence. One may not give up work and prescribed duties all of a sudden, but by gradually developing Krishna consciousness, one can be situated in a transcendental position without being influenced by the material senses and the mind, by steady intelligence directed towards one's pure identity. This is the sum total of this chapter. In the immature stage of material existence, philosophical speculation and artificial attempts to control the senses by the so-called practice of yogic posture can never help a man toward spiritual life. He must be trained in Krishna consciousness by higher intelligence.
And again one word comes. It is not intelligent. Don't mistaken the intelligence to be only normal material intelligence. This is considered to be higher intelligence. It is spiritual intelligence. And higher intelligence, what is higher intelligence? Higher intelligence are words of Guru, words of Shastra. They are called as higher intelligence. Because our intelligence sometimes keep on telling our intelligence cheats us because of material contamination. Words, higher intelligence means they are the words of Guru and Shastra. So I said, learn to control our mind and senses and intelligence by higher intelligence. So higher intelligence means words of Guru. That's why Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chitete Koria Aikya Arana Koriho Mane Asha. So I said Guru Mukha Padma Vakya. So let us always remember the words of Guru. And that's why, so basically, if you, the entire substance of this chapter is, if this section is get the transcendental knowledge now. Without getting transcendental knowledge, you will keep on committing wrong activities. You will keep on committing the sins. So you are in darkness right now, and knowledge is like light. As soon as light will turn on, the darkness will go away. So this is the concluding the section of this entire chapter, and this last section of this chapter. So okay. Now coming to the chapter, that is 4.1. So as I said, the acronym for this chapter is years. So let's understand how the categorization of this entire chapter is. So there are around 42 shlokas in this entire chapter. So if you have Bhagavad Gita, maybe you can mark this, that there are 42 chapters, and I have shared PDF also with you. So if you can go through that PDF of the acronym PDF. So there SB Keshav Maharaj very nicely explains about this entire fourth chapter. So the first 10 shlokas are discussing about eternal education. So Maharaj mentions like every device or every equipment which we take, it comes with a user guide. And so similarly, this entire universe or this entire Brahmanda, we have a user manual for that, which contain the purpose of this universe, the guidelines about this universe, and they are called as scriptures. So Krishna in the first 10 shlokas is explaining that actually aha evam parampara praptam. He said actually I started the educational system. It is so somebody may say ki, from where to get the transcendental knowledge? No, you have to go to a parampara. From parampara, get educational knowledge. So all this shlokas, the first 10 shlokas are discussing about eternal education and the parampara and why knowledge is important. Then the next five shlokas, verse number 11 to verse number 15, they discuss about getting accurate understanding of the knowledge. In this world, so many people claim that they are very religious, they know something about God, but most of the times, their understanding about God and religion is very, very hazy, is very, very hodgepodge. It's very, very confusing. They are very confused. But when the transcendental knowledge is received through parampara, one gets correct understanding. That's why we find before coming to Krishna consciousness, we watch YouTube, we read so many scriptures, we heard so many gurus. But as soon as we get the knowledge from the parampara, immediately we take to Krishna consciousness seriously. So getting knowledge from parampara is very, very vital. And so verse number 11 to 15 are speaking about the need of getting a accurate understanding. Then the verse number 16 to 24, they are discussing about how spiritual knowledge helps one to clear up his doubts. It also helps one to remove all his karmic reactions from his bank balance. And so all this is spoken about in the verse number 16 to 24, that knowledge helps us to remove the reactions. And the last section, that is about sacrifice. So in order to understand and get spiritual knowledge, one should render seva. Tad vici pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya. One should render seva. And when one renders seva, when one becomes humble, the goal of education is to become humble. And by going to a guru, one will get the transcendental knowledge. And by this transcendental knowledge, one will not be affected by the bondage of lust. And when one is not affected by the bondage of lust, then he will do his duties and his prescribed duties very nicely, and then he will be on the path of perfection. So this is the entire theme of the fourth chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Okay, so let's go to we have some I think 15-20 minutes. We'll try to cover one section from this entire fourth chapter now. So verse number 1 to 4 are going to speak about that Krishna, he started the education system. The entire education system was started by, he's the founder and CEO of the education system. And Krishna, it is he who started the parampara. So verse number 1, 2, verse number, shloka number 1 and 2, they will speak about parampara. Okay, please read. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Imam Vivasvate Yogam Proktavanahamavayam Vivasvan Manave Praha Manur Ikshvakave Bravet. Yes, translation.
Translation: The personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna, said, I instructed this imperishable science of yoga to the sun god Vivaswan, and Vivaswan instructed to the Manu, the father of mankind, and Manu in turn instructed to Ishwaku.
So suddenly, if you read suddenly the fourth chapter na, without Acharya commentary, suddenly बोलेगा अरे प्रभु अभी तक तो लस्ट चल रहा था, अचानक ये विवस्वान कहाँ से आ गए और सन कहाँ से आ गया. ये थीम और कनेक्टिंग लिंक समझना बहुत डिफिकल्ट पड़ता है. लेकिन आई होप अभी समझ में आ रहा है कि थर्ड चैप्टर के बाद फोर्थ चैप्टर में क्यों जा रहा है, क्योंकि भगवान ने नॉलेज का इंपॉर्टेंस बताया. तो अभी भगवान बता रहे हैं कि ट्रांसेंडेंटल नॉलेज कैसे प्राप्त होता है. तो बोले सबसे पहले मैंने जो जो ज्ञान मैं आपको दे रहा हूँ ना अभी, ये सब कुछ ज्ञान मैंने पहले सूर्यदेव को दिया था. और ये सूर्यदेव ने विवस्वान को दिया, सॉरी विवस्वान ने मनु को दिया, और मनु ने इक्ष्वाकु को दिया. इस प्रकार से जो नॉलेज था वो कंटिन्यूअसली आ रहा था परंपरा में. परपट. यस प्रभु.
Herein we find the history of the Bhagavad Gita, straight from the remote time when it was delivered to the royal order of all planets, beginning from the sun planet. The the kind the kings of all planets are specially meant for the protection of the inhabitants, and therefore the royal order should understand the science of Bhagavad Gita in order to be able to the rule the citizens and protect them from the material bondage to the lust. Human life is meant for cultivation of spiritual knowledge in eternal relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the executive head of all the states and all the planets are obliged to impart this lesson to the citizens by education, culture and devotion. In other words, the executive heads of all states are intended to spread the science of Krishna consciousness so that the people may take advantage of this great science and pursue a successful path, utilizing the opportunity of the human form of life. In this millennium, the sun god is known as Vivaswan, the king of the sun, which is origin of the all planets within the solar system. In the Brahma Samhita 5.22, 52, it is stated, Yakshakshur यक्षुर ईश सविता सकलग्रहाणां राजा समस्तसुरमूर्तेषु
सुरमूर्तिरशेषतेजा
तेजा
यस्नागयामृतमृतकालचक्रो गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं
तमहं
भजामि.
भजामि. Let me worship Lord Brahma, said the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Govinda, Krishna, who is the original person and under whose order the sun, which is the king of all planets, is assuming the immense power and heat. The sun represents the eye of the Lord and traverses its orbit in obedience to his order. The sun is the king of planets, and the sun god, at the present of the name Vivaswan, rules the sun planet, which is controlling all the other planets by supplying heat and light. He is the rotating under the order of Krishna, and Lord Krishna originally made Vivaswan his first disciple to understand the science of Bhagavad Gita. The Gita is not therefore a speculative treatise for the insignificant mundane scholar, but it is the standard book of knowledge coming down from the time immemorial. In the Mahabharata Shanti Parva, we can trace out the history of the Gita as follows. त्रेतायुगादौ च ततो विवस्वान्मनवेदादौ मनुष्यलोकबृहत् अर्थं सुता इक्ष्वाक्वे ददौ इक्ष्वाकूणां न च कथितो व्यप्या लोकान् अवस्थिता. In the beginning of the millennium known as Treta Yuga, this science of the relation with the Supreme was delivered by Veswan to Manu. Manu, being the father of mankind, gave it to his son Maharaj Ishwaku, the king of this earth planet, and forefathers of the Raghu dynasty, in which Lord Ramchandra appeared. Therefore, Bhagavad Gita existed in human society from the time Maharaj Ishwaku. At the present moment, we have just passed through 5,000 years of the Kali Yuga, which lasts 4,32,000 years. Before this was there was Dwapar Yuga, 8 lakh years, and before that there was the Treta Yuga, 12 lakh years. Thus, uh, some 20 lakhs years ago, Manu spoke the Bhagavad Gita to his disciple, the son Maharaj, son Maharaj Ishwaku, the king of this planet Earth. The age of the current Manu is calculated to the last some uh, 3 crore years, of which 12 crore years have passed. Accepting that before the birth of Manu, the Gita was spoken by Lord to his disciple, the sun god Vivaswan. A rough estimate is that the Gita was spoken at least 12 crore years ago. and in human society it was been extant for 2 million years. It was spoken by the Lord again to the Arjuna about 5,000 years ago. That is the rough estimate of history of the Gita. According to the Gita itself and according to the version of the speaker, Lord Shri Krishna, it was spoken to the sun god Vyaswan because he is also Kshatriya and is the father of all Kshatriyas who are descendants of the sun god or the Surya Vamsha Kshatriyas. Because Bhagavad Gita is the good as the Vedas, being spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This knowledge is the Apaurushaya, superhuman. Since the Vedic instructions are accepted as they are without human interpretation, and Gita must be therefore be accepted without mundane interpretation. The mundane wranglers may speculate on the Gita in their own ways, but that is not Bhagavad Gita as it is. Therefore, Bhagavad Gita has to be accepted as it is from the disciplic succession, and it is described herein that the Lord spoke to the sun god, the sun god spoke to the son of Manu, and Manu spoke to his son Ishwaku.
So Krishna says now in the 4th chapter that the entire history of Bhagavad Gita is given. That how Bhagavad Gita is not just a recent scripture. This knowledge was taught in the big universities. Like today, like we see that one person came and they said Harvard and Cambridge and Oxford, they are like the Nalanda and Takshashila of India. So much education was available. But actually, it is much more bigger. Harvard, even the Harvard University and all these universities cannot compare and put together what the kind of knowledge, spiritual knowledge India had. So here we find that the knowledge is there from the remote time. And all big Raj Rishis understood it. All big kings understood the science of Bhagavad Gita. So that's why Bhagavad Gita, in one sense, is not meant for an ordinary person. Bhagavad Gita is meant for the priestly order or the kingly order or the all Shreshtas. So sometimes we may distribute Bhagavad Gita on the road and we may think, Bhagavad Gita is meant for a common man. Yeah, common man, it is meant for everyone, but actually it is understood by people who are very highly in what we say, evolved personalities. Bhagavad Gita, the knowledge is understood by human, highly evolved personality. So human life is meant for cultivation of spiritual knowledge. And so entire parampara is given who taught to whom, and the Tirtha Yoga, the calculations are given in this chapter. So don't interpret Bhagavad Gita because Bhagavad Gita is apaurashya. Paurashya means any knowledge coming through the material intelligence has 4 defects. But this is Bhagavad Gita, the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita is coming apaurashya. So there is no one, it is free from all 4 defects. Knowledge of Bhagavad Gita. So that's why this is the topmost of all the knowledge. And that's why we can rely and trust the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita. Like sometimes I remember, I used to, in my childhood, there was one that time YouTube culture was not there much, but there was one motivational speaker. I used to listen to him and used to get inspired by the inspirational talks and all this. But then later, I found that the same person who used to give so much inspiration, he himself had a lot of bad character. He used to drink, used to have illicit affairs and everything. But he used to speak so nicely, I used to inspire, and charismatic speech used to inspire people. And the knowledge which the person gave, then later everyone stopped listening to him. So any knowledge which conditioned soul is giving, that is tainted by 4 defects. That is his own mind's creation. But the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, if repeated even by a non-qualified person, because this knowledge is apaurashya, it has a great effect. So, okay, some little more discussion about education system. But how Lord started the first university for education. Yes, Pooh, next one. Evam parampara praptam imam raja rishayo vidu sakale neha mahata yogo nashto parantapa. So Krishna is telling, I started the university and I taught it to all the scholars and rishis and rajas. but over the time, the university stopped. Yes, Prabhu. Whose turn?
This supreme science was thus received through the chain of disciplic succession, and the saintly kings understood it in that way. But in course of time, the succession was broken, and therefore the science as it is appears to be lost.
So here he will tell that this entire parampara was broken, but now, because you are my nice friend and you are a devotee of me, I found a suitable candidate to instruct this knowledge again. So I'm instructing it to you. Yes, Prabhu. Purport?
It is clearly stated that the Gita was especially meant for the saintly kings because they were to execute its purpose in ruling over the citizen. Certainly, Bhagavad Gita was never meant for the demonic person who would dissipate its value for no one's benefit and would devise all types of interpretation according to personal whims. As soon as the original purpose was scattered by the motives of the unscrupulous commentators, there arose the need to re-establish the disciplic succession. 5,000 years ago, it was detected by the Lord himself that the disciplic succession was broken, and therefore he declared that the purpose there he declared that the purpose of the Gita appeared to be lost. In the same way, at the present moment also there are so many editions of the Gita, especially in English, but almost all of them are not according to authorized disciplic succession. There are innumerable interpretations rendered by different mundane scholars, but almost all of them do not accept the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Although they make a good business on the words of Sri Krishna, the spirit is demonic. Because demons do not believe in God, but simply enjoy the property of the Supreme. Since there is a great need of an edition of Gita in English, as it is received by the Parampara, disciplic succession system, an attempt is made herewith to fulfill this great want. Bhagavad Gita accepted as it is a great boon to humanity, but if it is accepted as a treatise of philosophical speculation, it is simply a waste of time.
So don't accept Bhagavad Gita to be just a philosophical speculation. Otherwise, it is simply a waste of time. Why to read a scripture which is just a speculation of someone? Nowadays, people are so accustomed to read the novels and this book and that book, but it is just a speculation of some personality. Why to hear and discuss some philosophical speculation or speculation of some personality? No, but we have to hear the knowledge which is coming in the parampara, and such a knowledge only can have a profound effect on us. So all other methods will fail. Okay. So coming to the I think just one or two shlokas will quickly cover, then one section will get overruled. So that's why I'm little running today fast. स एवायं मया तेद्य योगप्रोक्तः परातन भक्तोऽसि मे सखा चेति रहस्यं हि एतदुत्तमम्. So he's saying, स एवायं मया तेद्य. Now I am giving this knowledge to you. The very, very Puratan knowledge, very old knowledge I am giving back to you. The reason is I found a suitable candidate. You are a devotee of mine and you are my friend also. And you are devotee also, very close to me. That's why I am revealing the secret password. I am revealing it to you. Yes, bro. Translation?
Translation. That very ancient science of the relationship with the Supreme is told today by me to you, because you are my devotee as well as my friend, and can therefore understand the transcendental mystery of this science.
Yeah. Purport.
Therefore, there are two classes of men, namely the devotee and the demon. The Lord selected Arjuna as the recipient of this great science owing to his being a devotee of the Lord. But for the demon, it is not possible to understand this great mysterious science. There are a number of editions of this great book of knowledge. Some of them have commentaries by the devotees, and some of them have commentaries by the demons. Commentation by the devotees is real, whereas that of demons is useless. Arjuna accepts Sri Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and any commentary on the Gita following in the footsteps of Arjuna is the real devotional service to the cause of this great science. The demoniac, however, do not accept Lord Krishna as he is. Instead, they concoct something about Krishna and mislead general readers from the path of Krishna's instructions. Here is a warning about such misleading paths. One should try to follow the established succession from Arjuna and thus be benefited by this great science of Srimad Bhagavad Gita.
Vishnu Thakur is writing. So there are two reasons spoken in this verse of why the knowledge is given to Arjuna. Because Arjuna is a devotee and in a friendly attitude. And he said that another reason is it is a very, very secret. So those who are not qualified, that is, this knowledge is not given. Otherwise, they will simply misunderstand and misuse the knowledge. So he said that's why, because so this is a qualification to receive the knowledge of Gita. You have to be a devotee of Lord Krishna. And we have to be in a friendly mood. Friendly mood, or here it is said friendly mood, or basically in the mood of service. All rasas are mainly meant for seva. So we should be in a favorable mood to Krishna. Then one can assimilate the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita. So now, coming from verse number 4.4 onwards, the verse number 4.4 onwards, now Arjuna gets a question. Arey bhai, I understand you are my friend. You are speaking big, big things. You said till now you spoke so many things, but I got a doubt. Actually, I don't have a doubt, but others will doubt. You said that you spoke this knowledge to sun god. Sun God is so old, and we both were born together only. We both were born together, we played together, and we are like sakhas. And Sun God is the oldest personality. How did you speak this knowledge to Sun God? And means how? What is the proof, Krishna, that you spoke this knowledge to? So, being a devotee of Krishna, actually Arjuna did not have any doubt that Krishna spoke this knowledge. But just because atheistic people like or people like us or people like me, they will doubt this. अरे अर्जुन कृष्ण आपका birth जो है जैसे suppose to today suppose you start speaking, let's say now say let's Ravi Prabhu is there and Ravi Prabhu says that actually I actually Mahatma Gandhi used to come and I used to teach him the mathematics to Mahatma Gandhi was taught by me. महात्मा गांधी को सब लोग बोलेंगे "ए प्रभु कुछ भी मजाक करते हो क्या? आप कैसे महात्मा गांधी को पढ़ाए? क्यों? क्योंकि आप तो अभी भी आए हो, आपका बर्थ डेट क्या है? तब तक महात्मा गांधी जी थे ही नहीं। तो बोले सपने में पढ़ा है क्या आपने? कोई भी प्रश्न पूछेगा तो बाद में मैं सीक्रेट रिवील करेंगे, प्रभु आपको नहीं पता, पिछले जन्म में जब महात्मा गांधी थे तब मैं उनका टीचर था और मैंने ही एक्चुअल में फ्रीडम दिलाया है पूरे भारत को। वो बोलेगा अरे बिलीव नहीं करेगा कोई। सो यू सी दैट्स व्हाई कृष्णा इज नाउ गोइंग टू रिवील द सीक्रेट दैट ओ बाबा तुम्हारा बर्थडे और मेरे बर्थडे में कंफ्यूज मत करना। तुम्हारा बर्थडे जो होता है वो ऑर्डिनरी बर्थडे होता है, लेकिन मेरा जो बर्थडे है वो स्पेशल बर्थडे होता है। तो आने वाले 5th श्लोका से लेके 10th श्लोका तक भगवान अपना डिवाइन नेचर बताने वाला है कि मेरा जन्म जो है वो कैसे डिवाइन है। मैंने बहुत सारे बर्थ लिए हैं, आपने भी बहुत बर्थ लिए, मैंने भी बहुत बर्थ लिए, लेकिन आप भूल जाते हो, मैं नहीं भूलता। और मेरा बॉडी जो है वो नॉर्मल बॉडी नहीं है। मैं क्यों आता हूँ, मेरा बर्थ क्यों होता है, मैं कब कब आता हूँ। तो सारे जो फेमस श्लोकास है ना, परित्राणाय साधूनां विनाशाय च दुष्कृतम् संभवामि युगे युगे यदा यदा हि धर्मस्य ग्लानिर्भवति भारत। ये सारे श्लोकास जो है अभी आने वाले हैं 4th चैप्टर में। कई बार डिवोटीज को श्लोका पता रहता है लेकिन कौन से चैप्टर में आते हैं वो पता नहीं रहता है। अरे ये श्लोका इस चैप्टर में आता है क्या? तो यहाँ से आपको समझ में आएगा कि भगवान अपना बताने वाले हैं, अपने बारे में बताने वाले हैं। मेरा जन्म कब हुआ, मेरा हिस्ट्री क्या, मेरे माता पिता कौन, और मैं क्यों आता हूँ, मेरे जीवन आने का पर्पस क्या। और आप मेरे बर्थ को अगर अच्छे से जानोगे तो जन्म कर्म चमे दिव्यम त्यक्त्वा देहं पुनर्जन्म नैति मामेति स्वर्जुना। तो पहले 10 श्लोकों में ये एजुकेशन दिया जा रहा है, इटरनल एजुकेशन दिया जा रहा है। किसके बारे में? ये परंपरा क्या थी, ये परंपरा का फाउंडर कौन है, परंपरा का सीईओ कौन है, इस परंपरा और यूनिवर्सिटी का पर्पस क्या है, ये सब कुछ पहले 10 श्लोकों में यहाँ बताया जा रहा है, इटरनल एजुकेशन। तो ये हमारा 4th चैप्टर। ओके, सो आई थिंक it's although 5 minutes today will leave you early because And just a minute, bro. Kaushik bro, before I come to your question, next week Tuesday Wednesday कब आ रहा है bro?
25 and 26.
25 and 26. एक सेकेंड। ओके, मैं तेजस प्रो से एक बार डिस्कस करता हूँ ब्रो। हम ट्राई करेंगे 25 26 को करने का, या 26 27 को। एक बार मैं उनको बताता हूँ, क्योंकि नेक्स्ट वीक हम उज्जैन में हैं। मैं काफ़ी सारे डिवोटीज उज्जैन में है IYC में, तो वहाँ से मुझे एक बार जहाँ पे नेटवर्क अच्छा रहेगा और जहाँ पे अवेलेबल हो पाऊंगा। और अगले फिर स्फूर्ति कैंप भी आ रहा है डिवोटीज का, स्फूर्ति कैंप में भी काफ़ी लोग बिजी रहेंगे। सो 25 26 ट्राई करेंगे मोस्टली। मैं आपको तेजस प्रो को अपडेट कर दूंगा। ओके, यस प्रभु। सो प्रभु, हमारे 3 चैप्टर सक्सेसफुली कंप्लीट हो गए हैं। तो मैं कुछ आपको असाइनमेंट देना चाहूँगा, ताकि आपका एग्जाम में मार्क्स अच्छा आए। कम से कम आपको चैप्टर समझे ना समझे, एग्जाम में मार्क अच्छा आया तो मेरा पॉजिटिव रिमार्क आ जाएगा, चलो टीचर ने पास करवा दिया एग्जाम। अरे वो यस कौशिक प्रो।
Prabhuji, you told that Arjuna was in a mood of friendship with Krishna, and that's why Krishna, and he is a devotee also. That's why Krishna has revealed this knowledge to you. So, Prabhuji, my question is how to develop a mood of friendship with our superiors, so that we can be open-hearted to their feedback and we can receive knowledge in a more better spirit. Because in Bhagavatam 11th canto also it is said that a disciple should be in a mood of friendship with the spiritual master. Prabhuji, what is the best way to develop this?
Yeah, one should develop friendly attitude towards his spiritual master. So generally, whenever this friend is being spoken, it is not only about Saksharas Prabhu. That okay, now somebody may say that Bhagavad Gita is Bhagavad Gita is like developing, encouraging us for Saksharas or something like that. If you see, wife is also a friend of husband. Then children are also friend of husband. Even a teacher is a friend of husband. So whenever this friend is being spoken, that means what? The friend means, oh, as soon as I say, oh, this politician is a friend of ISKCON. Oh, this person is not a friend of ISKCON. Now let's say certain politician XYZ. If he says a friend of ISKCON, that means what? What do you say by this? What do you understand by this?
He is favorable towards ISKCON.
Okay, and what he does
He
then?
wants good of the ISKCON, that ISKCON should.
Okay, and when ISKCON is in difficulty, he may protect it, and he will speak positive remark about ISKCON. He will not hear negative remark about ISKCON. He will try to support ISKCON. Now, similarly, somebody is developing friendly attitude towards Guru. That means what? Oh, he is well-wisher towards Guru. You know, he understands Guru as well-wisher, and he also has well-wishes for the Guru. It is not that ki, oh, my Guru should have a long life. My Guru should get all good facilities. He is my savior. He is doing such a nice work. I should support his cause. And I am friend means, oh, I want to propagate his mission. I want to help him in propagating the mission. And I want to serve him in whatever way I can. So you say friendly. Similarly, wife. Wife is a friend of husband. Wife or husband is a friend of wife. So here the friend is the attitude is the friendly friend mainly means the attitude, the favorable disposition. Like I want to support your cause. I agree with your cause. Now somebody who is not a friend. Now let's consider that somebody is not a friend of ISKCON. Some politician is not a anti-ISKCON. Now can you tell me what all things they will do? Somebody is anti-ISKCON or if not a friend of ISKCON. Then what he will do?
They will they will not support ISKCON, try to stop the preaching mission of ISKCON.
Yeah, they will blaspheme. They will not give
Blaspheme.
permission. They will stop the
It is
seva. They will stop the temple. They will increase the tax, and they will do all anti things. Right now, similarly, somebody is not a friend of Lord, then he will stop. Oh, why the spiritual knowledge should be taught in schools and college? Better teach some play football. Why to plant a tulsi plant? Better plant a brinjal. And you see, so many. Somebody is not a friend of a friend. Then he may start. Why all this nonsense? Like one of the prime ministers of India, when he went to South India and when he saw the big Sri Rangam temple, he started crying and everyone was surprised. Hore, Prime Minister of India is crying. My God, how come Prime Minister of India has got the devotional sentiments? And when he was asked, why you are crying, sir? He said, मुझे इतना बुरा लगता है ना, हमारे पुराने जमाने के लोगों ने कितना पैसा वेस्ट कर दिया मंदिरों खोलने में। अगर मुझे इतना मंदिर मंदिर मिल जाता तो मैं इधर फैक्ट्री खोला होता और कितना एम्प्लॉयमेंट बनता और कितना अच्छा मतलब लोगों को सैलरी मिलता और लोग आराम से रह पाते। ये बड़े बड़े लोगों ने पैसा वेस्ट करके बड़ा बड़ा जमीन ले लिया और मंदिर खोल दिया। Now see, this is the Prime Minister of India, right? One of the big. So this is not a friendly attitude towards Lord. Similarly, friendly attitudes means surudam. Surudam means well wisher and always wishing well for a person. That is friendly attitude towards Lord. So such a qualification is required.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Vancha kalpatarubhasya kripa sindhubheva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Shri Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai ho. Hare Krishna.